Hello and welcome back to another episode of Unlocking Your Financial Future. I'm Ben Schrock, and joining me today is Dan Oakleaf. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
Yeah. So today we're recording this here, October 14th, 2024, kind of talking about some year-end planning. The first thing we're going to talk about today is the changes that we saw with Social Security and give everyone an update on that topic and what those cost of living adjustments came out to be. We'll kind of compare them against the previous year. And then in part two, we'll talk about year-end tax planning. We don't yet know what the tax brackets will look like next year. We do know that they will likely go up in terms of income limits, but we'll talk about that next episode. So Dan, I guess first question would be, what's the breaking news in terms of COLA, cost of living adjustment for Social Security this year?
Yeah, so there was an increase. 2024 COLA was 3.2%, and then 2025 COLA was 2.5%. So obviously a little bit of a decrease. What we like to say in our office is it tries to keep up with inflation. So there wasn't many cost of livings in the 2015 to 2022, but as you can see with everything going up inflation-wise, they're trying to ready the pace to make sure that people get a little bit more in their paycheck from Social Security every month.
Yeah, and the Social Security doesn't attach directly to the CPI. They attach to the CPIW, which is the Consumer Price Index of urban wage earners. And so again, it's not a true CPI to CPI gauge.
Yep.
And again, as we record this, we are yet to be informed what our Medicare Part B goes up. So I know it's always been one of those things where, I guess the cynicism in us might say, well, Social Security is going up, but Medicare Part B will eat all that.
Yep.
And not necessarily this time. The stuff I've been reading, again, is it going to be verbatim, but the first tier in your IRMA chart, so the average person that pays right now for Part B is about 174. Yep. From what I've read, I don't know about you, Dan, but what I've been reading is they're projecting that to be about 185 next year.
Yeah, which isn't a huge discrepancy or difference with everything else going up so high, and you see the differences in prices at the grocery store, stuff like that. So that's not as major of a change that we hopefully thought it was.
Yeah, and then when you put it in terms of actual dollar amounts, 2.5% raise. So basically, to eliminate your raise from Social Security of about, the $10 increase on Medicare Part B, you'd have to be receiving about a $400 a month Social Security benefit. So if you're getting more than that, you're likely going to get a net raise in your pocket at the end of the day. So again, 2.5%, not setting the world on fire by any means, but I guess it's better than
nothing. Yeah, at that point. So,
right.
And that's another thing is to think about is when people are actually planning to retire is you got to take this into account as to when you actually want to take Social Security, because it not only affects people who are on Social Security, but kind of figure out, okay, hey, do we take Social Security now? Do we continue to delay it? You look at COLAs, you look at the automatic increase in your benefit when you go past your full retirement age. So it's a lot of things to think about. We're never slight on news and changes and regulation changes and all that. So it makes our job a lot of fun.
Yeah, and a couple of other things. We kind of just go right down the list. And the FICA wage base, so the max income that you could pay into Social Security set at 176, a little over 176,000 and change, which is up from year over year from 168.6. So again, we see a little bit of an increase on that side. So what that means is if you make over that threshold, the max of FICA tax you'll be paid on or pay into is $176,000 on your income. But again, one of the things that we and most of our clients pay close attention to is, can I retire early?
Yep.
That's any age prior to full retirement age. So can I retire early and still work? If so, how much can I make?
Yeah, and that's the biggest discrepancy and difference that we get in our office is can we quote unquote double dip? And the earnings test limit has actually increased. So it used to be about $22,320 that one could make in a year without their benefits getting reduced. Now it's up to $23,400. So that's a pretty good increase. It's about $1,000 increase, but that's something that we have to look at. They divide it by monthly. So if you're planning on retiring, maybe thinking, hey, you know what, I want to double dip. I want to work, but also claim Social Security. You got to watch out for that earnings limit test, because you don't want to write a big old check to Social Security because you made too much from your job.
Yep. So it is something possible. Now, again, that's as we talk about this topic a lot, that is only on earned income. So wage type income, not necessarily investment income doesn't count. IRA distributions, your Social Security doesn't count. So literally, it's you going back to work and actually making more than that $1,950 a month in this case for you to go over that limit. Now, the other rule that's kind of sneaky in there is the year at which someone turns full retirement age. So again, depending on when you're born in the year, the calendar year, there is an earnings test on that, and that went up as well. From the year prior, it was sitting at 59,520, and it's up to 62,160. So again, you're a little over 5,000 a month that you can make the year you turn full retirement age. So those are a little bit of the changes that we're seeing. I always like to throw out the average because, everyone's like, is my Social Security benefit good, bad? Where does it stand? The average retirement benefit on Social Security right now is $1,976 a month. So again, across the board, if you're looking at averages, that tells us what the average increase is about. $50, is my math right?
Yeah, right about that. Yeah, okay, right about there from that end, and that takes into account a lot of people who may have taken their benefit early. Meaning they're taking less than their full retirement age amount. So that's a good gauge as to. It also lets us know in our offices is where's the delineation of how many people are taking early versus waiting till full retirement age.
Right.
So,
and those are all good questions and good things to consider, especially as we continue to evaluate the Social Security Trust Fund and making sure that it is, going to last. It's the constant political football that gets kicked and punted and down to the next administration. No one really wants to address it, but sooner or later they're going to
have to.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. So only time will tell when that is. But nonetheless, we're always staying on top of things to make sure that there's any type of grandfather clauses in there. Our clients are aware of that or anything they need to be filled in on that they're aware of.
Yeah, and that's something we tell our clients in the offices is be aware of the COLA, not only in your Social Security, but if you do have a pension out there, be aware of the cost of livings that come with pensions, because private pensions, a lot of them froze their COLAs. So you got to make sure and be aware of you might not only be getting a cost of living adjustment in your Social Security, but also if you have a pension, that could be adjusted too. So that's something to think about when you're doing your year-end planning for this year is what does your income look like for the full brunt of next year.
Yeah. And the other component of that just kind of spurred in my head, Dan, as you were talking, is the clients that have income in both systems. Now we're talking in Ohio specifically, as we are one of the few states that this is affected by the Windfall Elimination Provision, where, again, a client pays into the private sector and pays into the public sector via the form of Social Security. What does that look like? And the windfall, really the first tier, and the way they calculate the Social Security benefit is what's affected. Right now, that bend point one, that first tier for 2025 is $1,226. So if you are someone that is getting the full windfall on that, they would take that tier one earnings times 40%, and that's all you'd be entitled to, given the fact that you would have less than 20 years of substantial earnings in the mix. So little things to kind of be on the lookout for as these changes come about. The last one I'll add in there is the earned income to obtain one credit. Remember, that's how Social Security works, is quarters or credits, is $1,810. That gives you one credit in the system.
Right.
So. All right. Enough about Social Security.
Excited about Social Security. That's what we make it fun. They always come out with new topics and new little adjustments. So we always say we're never bored in our office.
Yeah, and nonetheless, it's something that we stay on top of. We like to record these and spit out a lot of different information. We can always give us a call. We can give you the exact amount that you're going to receive or the increase that you should be expecting. The only thing we can't give right now is the Medicare Part B cost, which I would anticipate soon, because they usually run pretty simultaneously with one another.
Yeah, for sure.
One interesting thing I just thought of too is the Medicare Part B goes up by the CPI, but the cost of living adjustments goes up by CPIW.
It's kind of wild whoever decided, hey, let's just follow this certain inflation rate and this one different. It just makes it interesting to where who thought to delineate between the two.
Yeah, I can't give that answer. It's above my pay grade. So anything else you want to add, Dan, in regards to the Social Security planning?
No, just a little preview for next podcast though is remember 2025 is going to be the last year to where if there's no changes that the tax rates that we have currently will sunset. So that might affect, it won't necessarily affect Social Security and the changes there, but it might affect how much your Social Security is going to be taxed. So that's something maybe the next episode to listen in to think about is last year before they actually do sunset at the end of 2025 for the start of 2026 tax year. So
yes, thank you. Big year next year as changes are potentially coming.
Yeah,
we don't know yet. Again, we always preface with the date we're recording because we don't know who's going to be in office.
Yeah, quarter four will be interesting to see the foundation that's going to be laid out for all the changes coming up. So.
For sure. Well, Dan, appreciate it. Stay tuned to the next episode where we discuss year-end tax planning and what to be on the lookout for in 2025. And if you have questions for us, feel free to reach us at 330-473-1060, or you can check us out online at www.baschrock-fg.com. If you have any questions for us, please check us out and email us anytime you want. Dan, stay tuned for part 2.
Thanks, Ben.